The sun was still low in the morning sky as the shocked mourners gathered around. She had been so full of life just a few hours ago. What could have happened? The gentle breeze carried along the olfactory stimulation of morning dew, still moist upon the grass, as Lee lifted up her head from her dear lost companion and surveyed the horizon to and fro. Becky continued sniffing the still warm body. She's still warm, Becky mooed out as her large eyes watered. But it smells like half of her blood is gone. And this strange hole in her head. Heidi twitched her furry red and white ears as she mooed. What could have done that? It looks like it burned its way in, Lee mooed, still choked up. There's something terrible going on, something unknown. I saw lights last night, Becky reminded Lee, rubbing her snout on Lee's thick furry neck, followed by something silver and flat and round coming to the ground out here. Lee's large tongue came out and licked around her black and white furry snout and pink nostrils. Even the air tasted somehow mysterious, tingly. Like the metal boxes our humans travel in, she mooed. But you say it floated? Right out of the sky, Becky nodded, like the rain does. My God, it's happening again, Lee mooed and walked towards the fence line away from the others. She remembered now. Heidi and Becky followed. Again? What do you mean again? Lee looked down to the ground. Long before you two were born, I was just a young calf. We lost 2 of the herd to this, whatever it is. Her 2 companions patiently waited for more. They could smell how hard it was to talk about. My grandmother and an aunt were lost. All of their blood was gone, and their internal... Lee choked up and wept out. Their insides were just missing. Becky began to swivel her head quickly back and forth between the road beyond the fence line and the corpse of their dear lost friend. Wait a minute. A bunch of human metal boxes passed by, too. I remember now. Lee turned towards Becky. At the same time that thing came down? Yeah, Becky mooed excitedly. Maybe they were frightened off and didn't finish. Maybe that's why she still has blood and her insides, Heidi interjected. They may come back, Lee declared. And if they do, we need to be ready for them, whatever they are. The ladies reverently gathered around and slowly covered their lost comrade with some branches they wrenched off the trees along the fence row with their large jaws. Father would notice one of the ladies missing when milking time came, but he was away at an auction. The kids would be milking alone today, and God love them, they just weren't as careful at keeping track. Thanks to Lee's experience and age, the ladies had a plan. Nightfall was close on the horizon when the ladies nonchalantly processed up near the barn. Lee's mighty snout carefully wedged into the crack between the fence and the hay barn. Heidi, who was an Ayrshire and much smaller, slid in between and into the concrete barnyard. From there, she unlatched the interior lever, and her larger Holstein companions slowly pushed the fence open. A short walk, and they were inside by the pens near the hay barn. He had heard their approach and was waiting. What's this about, ladies? He mooed in his usual youthful cockiness. You aren't supposed to be in here. You just couldn't stay away from me, eh? Get over yourself, Lee declared flatly. You're the only bull on the farm, and we need you for something. Oh, I know you need me, ladies, he began to crow, but Lee jabbed his neck hard with her great snout. Shut up and listen for a change. He actually blushed a little bit as she went on, finally perceiving their seriousness. Something terrible is going on. We can deal with it ourselves, but honestly, it would be smarter to have you. Oh, all right, he stammeringly mooed, before pulling his head up to its usual arrogant position. How can I help? Nightfall, and the lights of the craft began to lower towards the pasture. Serenity, Lee quietly reminded them in whispered moos. We are just standing here sleeping. With eyes shut, they waited for Lee's signal. She slyly kept one eye partly open, watching for the opportunity. The metal craft came to a rest, and the door slid open. A little ramp extended down very near the body, and a small creature of some sort floated down the ramp. Lee eyeballed the strange critter. He looked sort of human, short, with a large head and eyes, and gray in color. Lee gave the signal. One short cough from her deepened her throat, and it began the countdown. As she coughed, the alien critter looked her direction. The silent countdown reached 3. In a flurry of fur and dust from the pasture, the herd charged towards the craft. The short alien realized too late that it had been duped. The ladies were not asleep. He had little time to ponder this as the great bony head of the bull slammed into his chest and carried him along right back up the ramp and into the craft as the ladies poured in, storming the place. Rushing in, the ladies quickly found 2 other of the little aliens slumped over some sort of console, but looking lifeless. Becky sniffed them rapidly. "They smell like milking machines," she exclaimedly mooed out. "Rubber and metal, these things aren't alive." Dumping the slumped alien off his head onto the floor, the bull smelled him and confirmed it. "Even this one has gone limp. What's going on?" "A security measure," Lee belted out over the herd crammed into the craft. "It's like the kid's remote control car. There has to be a driver for any metal box." Lee looked around almost frantically. Too much time was passing. The element of surprise was quickly fading. Suddenly, a large flat panel of metal slid open to reveal a thick glass window. Through the window, they could see what looked like a chamber full of dirt. 2 of the little gray alien humanoid puppets were flopping around in some sort of hurry. Clearly, still being controlled by their unseen masters, another figure appeared to be a large 2-headed reptilian. He seemed to be prodding the 2 puppets to hurry. Finally, one of them tossed him a small box that he had pointed in that direction. The reptile mooed. That's right, the reptile mooed. Coming from the box, a series of moos appeared to be translating what he was saying. "Please stop," he hissed. "We didn't mean it." Lee signaled to the others with their ears to hold and wait. "Didn't mean it?" she demanded of this serpent thing. "You killed some of us." "The translator box," he hissed. "Still perfect not. Language having trouble you're with," he fumbled about. "Didn't you intelligent until last night? Didn't know. Brain scan. We were surprised." Becky hung her head and nuzzled Heidi as they thought of their lost comrade. "They thought we were just dumb animals," Becky mooed. "They didn't know." Lee sighed and shook her head. "How could they have known? The humans who've made us through selective breeding over millennia, they don't even realize how intelligent we really are. It's so different from their perception." One of the small puppet creatures took the box from the reptile and danced his fingers over its controls. It mooed out. "We feel terrible that some of you have died," the box now said. "We were doing genetic experiment, had to cure plague." The ladies quietly took in his story as he went on. His species was called the Pucks. They live underground and use puppets to function above the surface. Their reptile friend was a species called Keltec. They worked together. They respected all intelligent life. They'd been taking samples for years from lots of different worlds. "We didn't realize you were intelligent," he mooed out through the box. "It was only recently, confronting the plague on Keltekia. We discovered a cure in the samples taken from your DNA." The herd looked around at one another and said to the little alien, "You wouldn't have caused the death of our friends, except the necessity of finding a cure. You were ignorant that we were intelligent. We will let you go in peace." The alien said, "We promise the work will stop." But Lee signaled to the herd with her ears, and they began to slowly file off the alien ship, and she interjected, "What about that plague?" "They were trying to save lives after all," Heidi said. Lee stopped in her tracks and looked back towards the little alien critters behind the glass panel. "If lives are on the line, we want to help," she mooed. "I've lived longer than most of the rest already. You could take me." The Keltec actually wept with one head. while the other spoke. That's very noble of you. We need a large quantity of blood and tissue to finish the formula. Could you take it without killing us? Becky wondered aloud. What if we all donated small amounts? And so it happened, beginning that very night. Unknown to humanity, the first cooperation of life on Earth and life from elsewhere in the universe began. Every evening, right after dark, the ladies of the herd would gather in the far corner of the pasture, well out of sight of prying eyes. They would file in and out of the alien spacecraft in turn. Samples were taken for weeks. The formula was finished. When they finally bid their farewells, the silver ship returned to the heavens, and on faraway Keltechia, near the center of the galactic core, unknown multitudes of two-headed reptilian people would go on with their lives, cured of the plague, carrying in their bodies the blood and tissue of faraway bovine donors. There was only one side effect, the occasional and uncontrollable desire to moo.